Okay, so we're recording, and share the screen and get started. Okay, I'll say something quickly about the quiz. Okay, so I don't really have to go over the quiz. Almost everybody got it correct. You almost all got 5 points on it. Okay, so this was the answer, but almost everybody got it. But I will say something quickly again, a review for the quiz. So some of you did not put all the names of your teammates. I want the first and last name of everybody, not just your own. Okay, so if you only put your own name, then it's more work for me, unnecessarily, granted, to find out who else was on your team, right? So I let it go this time maybe, but I may not be as generous next time. Okay, so for quizzes, once we start the quiz, right, immediately put your first and last name and first and last name of everybody else in your breakout room, not just the first name. You know, I can't find who they are still. And then again, I look at all the quizzes, but I will grade only one of them. And whatever grade that one person gets, everybody in the group gets. So again, the only way to be sure that you get it correct is that, let's say you have 4 in your team, then all 4 of you make sure, you say, okay, this is what I got, but you make sure you put the same thing and so forth, right? And then that way it doesn't matter who I pick. If you all have the same thing, then you're all going to get full credit, which will happen for the most part. Okay, so make sure you put everybody's names on the quiz from here on out. Okay. All right, so that's as much as I want to say about the quiz. And now, where are we? Okay, so I was almost done with Chapter 2 test. I'm just going to go do some quadratic formula problems and then try to do the Chapter 5 test. Okay, and we're aiming for next Tuesday for the first exam. Okay, coverage is Chapter 0, 1, 2, and 5. Okay, and please keep in mind, yes, I realize there are different books out there. There are different editions. You have the 11th edition, 12th edition, or some of you aren't even getting the book at all, and you're just going to, you know, go off of what I give you. That's okay. Okay. It really doesn't matter which version of the text you have. You say your problems don't match mine. Okay, remember, you are supposed to submit the homework. Okay, so all the homework you submit on the day of the test next Tuesday. Okay? And you say, well, I have a different edition. It doesn't really matter. Okay, math is math. The problems are the same, or the same difficulty, I should say. So if the problems you do don't match the problems that I do, that's okay, as long as you're doing something equivalent. Okay? So keep that in mind. And from time to time, it's going to happen. And let's see, my shared screen just stopped all of a sudden. So that was weird. Try this again. That is very strange. You might be in some trouble. Try it one more time. Okay. Sorry. Another shot. Okay. I think we're back. Okay. So, so if you say your problems don't match mine, that's okay. It doesn't matter. You submit the homework. Okay, it's due the day of the test, and then you do the exam. Now, I will send the exam. And by the way, I only promise you 50 minutes for the exam. Okay, but usually on the day of the exam, I let you ask questions. But if there are no questions, we can just start early. Okay, so let's pretend at 4:40. Nobody has any questions, then I can literally have the entire time for the exam. Let's make the limit of questions and answers to be 5 o'clock. Okay, we end at 5:55, so I'll stop at 5 o'clock, give you 5 minutes to get set up. Okay, then I'll send the exam via Canvas announcements. Okay, but I'll also project it here. I'll do both. Okay, and then you work the problems out with your cameras on, mute yourselves, your actual true background, so I can see what's behind you and all that kind of stuff. Okay, then at 5:55, I close the Zoom session. You take pictures on your cell phone. So click, 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 click. And then you do the same thing for the homework. Okay. And I'll give you another half an hour to submit the homework. Although if you want to submit the homework early, you may. So let's say you have to submit the exam by 6 p.m. and then the homework by 6:30 p.m. on exam days. Okay. Now that being the case, I can let you have question and answer time on Thursday. Okay. So if you want to ask me stuff on Thursday, that's okay too. Okay. Now I know some of you put stuff in the chat. I can't see the chat right now, so I'll have to go ahead and get started and look at the chat a little bit later, and hopefully answer your questions then. Okay. So going back to chapter 2. Okay, so I had done everything in chapter 2 except for the quadratic formula problems, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so how about I do 10 and 11 for you? Okay. All right, so here's the quadratic formula. And by the way, I know some of you joined a little bit late. Okay, technically our class starts at 4:40. I take attendance, I put it away. So I will catch you for attendance, but you should not consistently be late. But if you have a reason, just let me know. If you think you have a valid excuse, let me know. But 4:40 is when I'm supposed to start. Okay, so you shouldn't continually join late, otherwise you may lose points for that. Okay, so here's the quadratic formula. X is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You're allowed a formula sheet, so you don't have to memorize it. Okay, so remember, on the exam, you can have one sheet of paper, both sides, front and back, put anything you want. Okay, and you can use the calculator also. All right, so 2x squared plus 6x equals 9. Subtract 9, and it looks like this. Okay, so remember, it has to be in standard form. So now we're in standard form. 2x squared plus 6x minus 9 equals 0. So my a, b, and c are 2, 6, and negative 9. Throw it into the quadratic formula. So negative b, so negative 6, right, plus or minus square root b squared. So 6 squared is 36. Okay, temporarily pretend that's a minus. Minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 9. So it's a negative 4 times a negative 9. So that's why I changed them to a plus. That's a double negative. So it becomes a plus. All over 2a, 2 times 2. Okay, so these two negatives make it a positive. I'll raise it up a little bit for focusing sake. Again, I don't have a focus button here, but I can make it focus better if I lift it up. But I can't lift it up indefinitely. Besides, the book is heavy. Okay, so this becomes 36 plus 4 times 2 times 9 is 72. 36 plus 72 is 108. So negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 108 over 4. All right, then you might recall we take out perfect squares. 108 turns out to be 36 times 3. So negative 6 plus or minus radical 36 times 3 all over 4. The square root of 36 is 6. So 6 comes outside. So negative 6 plus or minus 6 radical 3 over 4. Since this is even, this is even, this is even, so what's a common factor for the top and the bottom? Well, 2, right? So I'll take out a 2 from the top. Okay, so take out a 2, 2 parentheses, negative 3 plus or minus 3 radical 3 over 4. Okay, and then that 2 will cancel with the 4, leaving with the 2. So final answer is negative 3 plus or minus 3 radical 3 all over 2. Final answer. Okay. So that's a quadratic formula problem. Okay, and then one more on the homework list was number 11, a little bit harder, and then I'm done with the section. Okay, solve 1 over x plus 2x equals 1/3 plus x plus 1 over x. Okay, too many fractions. I don't like the fractions, so the mode of operation here is get rid of the fractions, right? So let's try to get rid of the fractions if possible. Okay. So I'll get you started with it, but I won't do the whole thing. So here was the original problem, right? 1 over x plus 2x equals 1/3 plus x plus 1 over x. Okay. So what's the common denominator? I see x, 3, and x. So the trick is to multiply both sides by 3x. Okay. Multiply this side by 3x, multiply this side by 3x. So you're going to go 3x times that, 3x times that, 3x times that, 3x times that. That's going to cancel this, and this, and this. Okay. And a side note, I put up here x cannot be 0. Notice if x is 0, you're dividing by 0, and that's a mathematical no-no. We're not allowed to do that, right? Okay, so distribute 3x times 1 over x. X cancels out, leaving me with a 3. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 1/3 times 3x is x. Plus x cancels out. I have 3 times x plus 1. Okay, so I got you to this point, and now I'll just say etc. You do the rest of it by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so distribute, combine like terms, make it look like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and then throw it into the quadratic formula. Okay, so that's why I just say etc. I'll stop because I want to spend the rest of the time going over chapter 5 stuff. Remember, my goal is to gain a day. We lost today, so I'm trying to gain a day. I think I can do it today. Okay. All right, so that's it. Multiply that out, put everything on one side, set it equal to 0, use the quadratic formula. Okay, so I'm ready to start the chapter 5 test now. Okay, so I'm going to mark this off. I'm going to mark this off. We have the chapter 5 test, 1 to 4, 9 to 16, 17 to 24. And I do want to emphasize everything I'm doing should be reviewed. You should have seen all of this before in your earlier elementary and intermediate algebra courses. Okay, it might be kind of fuzzy, but that's okay. And don't forget, you get a cheat sheet. You get a formula sheet, so you can write a lot of this stuff down if you want. All right, so I'm going to start the chapter 5 test. Originally, I wasn't going to do it until Thursday, but I'm going to do it now. And if I do it properly, then I can gain a date and I can go on to 6.1 from there. Okay, so the chapter 5 test is here. And let me show you the book for those of you that don't plan to get a book. So it was, we have to go as far as 24. So it's my page 355. And I'll do this the whole semester. So if you never want to buy the book and just go off the pages that I show you, that's fine. Okay, so there's 1 through 4. You don't have to do 5, 6, 7, and 8. 9 through 14. And 15, 16, 17, 18. Hopefully you can read that. Remember, if I'm going too fast, just look at the video later. All right, where you can stop, pause, fast forward, rewind as much as you want. Okay, so I believe I've given you everything that you can see. And I plan to do just about all the problems here. And I think that's going to be possible. Okay, so here we go. All right, so we're doing exponential and logarithm functions now. Okay. Exponential and logarithmic functions. And we're doing that in intermediate algebra, hopefully. Okay, so question number 1. Graph y equals 5 to the x power. Okay. So I'll just make a table. I went from -2 to 2. I'll raise it up a little bit here. Okay, so this says -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I mean, it gives positive numbers, it gives negative numbers. Okay, so you get a fair shake for each. Okay, I'll plug in. Okay, be careful, it's not 5x. It's 5 to the x power. Okay? And I'll just go ahead and mention, I've had students before